Hello and welcome to the Physiology of singing, yeah. And today I'm going to be talking about the vocal folds, yeah, the larynx, okay? Physiology mainly of the larynx. So there are terms that if you do not know what these are, I would highly encourage you to, I put a link down below for my blog where my older blog, where I have some anatomy laid out for you there. There's a lot of other resources online, of course. You could always go to, honestly, Wikipedia is usually pretty good about this stuff. So, if you don't know the terms thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, arytenoids, cricothyroid muscle, adductor, abductor, if you don't know some of these terms, abductor being opening, ad being closing. If you are really new or you haven't really had a lot of pedagogy training and you do not understand those terms, I would highly encourage you to just pause the video and go over to a link and just get nice visuals of what the heck that stuff is, because I kind of don't want to bother going into all of it here because, once again, like I said, just going through anatomy is really pretty snooze-festy boring, but also I think it distracts people from what could really be useful when it comes to voice training in terms of singing. So this is all about big picture physiology. It's not about the little detail, minutia stuff. So we're trying to get a sense of what the forest is and not get lost in the trees, okay? So, just to let you know. So with that in mind, tiny little review from some stuff so far, because I know I talked way too long, I think, on my respiratory video. But anyway, so sensation, perception. I did a video on this. This is sensation is like, the sensory nerves in your body sending information up to the brain, okay? Perception is you consciously becoming aware of that sensation. And by the time that happens, the sensation has been processed a lot. And you actually have a lot of sensation occurring in your body throughout the day that helps your brain decide how to function, what to do, and how's your digestive system doing today, right? Like, the brain needs to know this information. But the conscious part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, that part where you're doing all your big decision making, it doesn't need to know that. You know what I mean? So you can kind of think of it like this might be kind of sad, but kind of like a corporate structure, kind of, So it's like the president up here doesn't really need to know what's going on in the mailroom, but the people who run the mailroom need to know that. So the sensation from certain areas of your body will go to those little processy areas, and they'll just handle the minutia. And then the prefrontal cortex, sort of like the CEO or the president of your body, doesn't always need to know all the tiny little functions. And so that is the perceptual part, though. Whatever it becomes aware of has gotten to that presidential level, okay? The boss level. I guess is one way to think of it. Anyway, I've had a lot of bad day jobs, so I understand corporate structure fairly well. I was usually the lower level, entry-level positions. All right, so sensation perception, important to remember, because that might come up later on in this video. And if you recall respiratory, I also talked about active forces and passive forces. Active forces in the body essentially being muscle contraction, primarily, meaning that the muscles are contracting and actually causing a movement in the body, and it's an active process, right? It's something that your brain needs to signal to happen, and you need those fibers to contract, and you need things to move. Passive forces being things might move in relation to just being connected to something that is moving, right? So like tendons and ligaments, those connections that you have in your body, when a muscle contracts, those things get moved as well, which is why you can end up with additional movement beyond just the muscle contracting. And also, gravity is a very important passive force in terms of, if your muscles have to act against gravity, then when those muscles release, body position goes back to where it was before the contraction, just due to the fact that the tissues and stuff are going to recoil and the gravity's just going to let them plop. So, for example, when breathing upright, small little review here, when you're just hanging out at neutral and you feel no pull on your rib cage or on your abdominal wall, you're probably at atmospheric 0. We call that our baseline. Our 0 point is atmospheric pressure for respiratory pressure. If you want to take an inhale above atmospheric pressure and you're sitting upright, in order to counteract gravity, you need to, your body will move. You have muscles that will contract and expand your rib cage, right? And then you can resist gravity with those same muscles of inhalation, keeping the ribcage out, or you can just let it go, release those muscles of inhalation, and the recoil of the tissue in the ribcage that's connected there, plus gravity, causes it to go back to neutral, to 0. If you want to continue going past atmospheric 0, you use a bit of your abdominal wall. Typically, this is like one of the big strategies there. So, atmospheric 0. If I want to voice past that point, I need to start sucking my abdominal wall toward my spine, which helps give an extra push on the lungs due to all the connective tissues, and the diaphragm at that point being one of the passive connections, because the diaphragm only contracts on inhale. Okay? So that's the little respiratory review. Also remember, air moves from areas of high pressure to low pressure. Okay? Yes, that was right. So if you are at atmospheric 0 and you expand the rib cage, it creates a negative pressure in the lungs relative to atmospheric pressure, which causes the air to rush into the lungs. And then you have a higher lung pressure, higher alveolar pressure than atmospheric, which you have to resist. Okay, anyway, just remember these things, tiny little reviews. Actually, maybe what I'll do now, because it's already like 7 minutes into the video, I'll just keep this as a review thing, and then go into laryngeal function. Perhaps I'll just do a second video maybe. I just don't want to load you down with like 30-minute, 40-minute videos. I feel like that's a little excessive. Alright, so next up, we're going to do part 2 of laryngeal function. Yes. Alright, so click on over to that, or go review your laryngeal anatomy if you feel you need to. So arytenoids and thyroid and cricoid, oh my. Just review all that stuff. Okay? See you back at the next video. Bye. See you guys. Bye.